Valerian was the most powerful man in the world. Millions of soldiers answered to him. His face was stamped on every coin in the empire. When he walked into a room, men dropped to their knees. He commanded armies that had conquered most of the known world, and the civilizations that hadn't been conquered yet were busy worrying about it. And one afternoon in 260 AD, the Emperor of Rome ended up on all fours in the dirt while a foreign king used his back as a step stool to climb onto a horse. And it gets worse. Then he went east to deal with the Persians, and the whole thing fell apart in spectacular fashion. In 260 AD, Valerian marched his forces into modern-day Turkey to confront King Shapur I of the Sasanian Persian Empire near Edessa. The Romans were weakened, sick with plague, and in no shape to fight a fresh and prepared Persian force. Shapur I didn't just defeat Valerian at the Battle of Edessa. He captured him, alive, in person. The Emperor of Rome, the most untouchable man in the known world, taken prisoner on the battlefield. It had never happened before. It would never happen again. Valerian was the only Roman emperor in all of history to be captured alive by an enemy. And that's just the part everyone agrees on. According to ancient writers like Lactantius, what came after was a masterclass in public humiliation. Shapur I reportedly used Valerian as a human stepping stool when mounting his horse, crouching the Emperor of Rome down on all fours while the Persian king stepped up and swung into the saddle. Some accounts go even further, claiming Shapur had Valerian flayed alive, with his preserved skin stuffed and displayed in a Persian temple as a trophy. Others say he was forced to swallow molten gold. None of these details come from Persian records, which tend to be more restrained, but the carved rock relief at Nakhsharostam in modern Iran does show Roman leaders in positions of total submission before Shapur. The Persians were definitely making a point. Modern historians think the goriest stories were probably embellished over time. What's not debated is that Valerian died in Persian captivity, never returned to Rome, and was replaced almost immediately by his son Gallienus. The world's most powerful man spent whatever remained of his life as a prisoner, and Rome spent the next decade pretending it never happened. The audacity, the nerve, the footstool. The Emperor of Rome had a royal palace, an elite personal bodyguard of thousands, and the full military apparatus of the most powerful civilization on Earth protecting him at all times. On March 11, 222 AD, they found him hiding in a latrine. Heliogabalus became Emperor of Rome in 218 AD at the age of 14. In the 4 years that followed, he managed to offend basically everyone through a combination of erratic behavior, religious reform, and appointments that drove his own military absolutely insane. By 222 AD, the Praetorian Guard had reached their limit. They backed his cousin Alexander Severus as a replacement, and when Heliogabalus tried to have his cousin executed, that was the last straw. On March 11, 222 AD, the Praetorian Guard came for the emperor. Heliogabalus was 18 years old. He hid, according to the ancient historian Cassius Dio, in a latrine. The guards found him there, killed him on the spot, and then dragged his body through the streets of Rome. They tried to throw his body into the Tiber River, hoping to deny him a proper burial and erase him from history completely, but the body kept getting snagged on the banks. Eventually, they weighed it down and sent it under. His mother was killed alongside him that same day. To be completely clear about what happened here, a Roman emperor, the ruler of a civilization that had conquered most of the known world, spent his final moments crouching in a latrine before being hauled out and thrown into a river by his own bodyguards. They were supposed to protect him. He was 18 years old. He'd been emperor for 4 years and had somehow managed to be despised by basically every institution that had the power to kill him, and in the end, one of them did. The Praetorian Guard wasn't particularly secretive about it either. The bodies were dragged through the city in broad daylight, which in Rome is basically a press release. This is what a bad performance review looks like when you live in 222 AD. Nikephoros I ruled the Byzantine Empire for 9 years. He managed its finances, commanded its armies, and held together one of the most complex political structures in the medieval world. In July of 811 AD, he led his army into Bulgaria for what was supposed to be a straightforward military campaign. He never came home. And what the Bulgarian warlord Khan Krum did with what was left of him is one of the most disrespectful things one leader has ever done to another in recorded history. Nikephoros led his army deep into Bulgarian territory to campaign against Khan Krum. The initial raids went well. Byzantine forces sacked Krum's capital and burned it. Then on the way back, Krum's forces launched a devastating ambush in a mountain pass. The Byzantine army was essentially destroyed. Nikephoros was killed in the fighting, making him the first Byzantine emperor to die in battle in over 4 centuries. Krum, being a man with a clear vision for interior decorating, had the emperor's skull lined with silver and turned it into a goblet. He reportedly toasted from it at his feasts and sometimes offered it to visiting Slavic rulers as a gesture of dominance. The Bulgarian chronicles and Byzantine sources both document the skull cup. It wasn't a rumor. It wasn't propaganda. Krum genuinely drank from the Emperor of Byzantium's head at parties. There is something profoundly humbling about spending your reign managing one of the most complex empires in the medieval world and ending up as someone else's drinkware. Nikephoros governed from 802 to 811 AD. 9 years of difficult decisions, border crises, and budget shortfalls. He survived all of it. He did not survive the ambush in the Barbitsa Pass, and once Krum got done with him, there wasn't even a proper burial to remember him by. Just an imperial skull on a Bulgarian banquet table and whatever wine Krum happened to be pouring that evening. Unlimited refills. Constans II ruled the Byzantine Empire for 27 years. He survived assassination plots and military invasions. Also, he survived the kind of political backstabbing that ended most Byzantine emperors within their first few years on the throne. Wars with the Arab Caliphate, Slavic invasions, 2.5 decades of people trying to kill him and failing every single time. On September 15, 668 AD, he died in his bathroom. The thing that finally got him is sitting under your bathroom sink right now. Constans II was in his bath that afternoon. Just a normal bath in the palace, nothing dramatic about it. His attendant Andreas walked in and hit him over the head with a silver basin, basically a bath bucket, and that was the end of 27 years of rule over the Byzantine Empire. He was 37 years old, murdered in a bathtub with a piece of plumbing equipment. A usurper named Mazesius briefly seized power in the aftermath, though he was quickly dealt with by loyalist forces. Constans II had spent years surviving existential threats to his empire, including major conflicts with the Arab Caliphate and Slavic invasions. He outlasted all of it. He did not outlast his bath time. In fairness to the late emperor, being murdered in your bathtub is probably more dignified than being murdered on the roadside while answering nature's call. But only barely. Survived decades of warfare and got finished off by somebody he trusted to hand him a towel. The Byzantine Empire mourned accordingly, which is to say it immediately got back to arguing about who should be emperor next. Caracalla had his own brother killed to take the throne. He executed thousands of people who were even slightly connected to this brother. He was feared across the empire, and fear is usually a pretty good security system. On April 8, 217 AD, he stopped on the side of a road to use the bathroom, and that was the last decision he ever made. Caracalla, full name Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, was the emperor of Rome from 211 to 217 AD, and he was not a popular guy. He murdered his own brother Geta to take sole control of the empire, executed thousands of Geta's supporters, and had a reputation for brutality that even the Romans, who had a pretty high tolerance for brutality, found excessive. By 217 AD, Caracalla was on a military campaign in what is now Turkey, heading toward the city of Kari. On April 8, 217 AD, while traveling along the road, the emperor stopped to relieve himself. It happens. It happens to everyone, including emperors. What does not typically happen to everyone is being stabbed to death while doing it. A soldier named Justin Martialis, acting on orders from the Praetorian prefect Macrinus who wanted the throne, walked up behind Caracalla while the emperor was in the middle of his roadside bathroom break and put a sword in him. That was it. Emperor of Rome, one of the most feared men in the ancient world, killed on the side of a road with his tunic up and his guard down. Macrinus was declared emperor 3 days later, which is a deeply efficient turnaround. The Roman historian Herodian documented the event. Caracalla's own soldiers had more or less allowed it to happen. Some accounts suggest several guards witnessed the attack and did nothing. When your bodyguard is willing to look the other way while you're murdered mid-urination, that is perhaps a sign that your leadership style needs some fine-tuning. Macrinus lasted about a year before he was also killed, which at least provides a small amount of symmetry to the whole mess. Well, that's all I got. History is many things, but merciful is not one of them. If you had fun learning about other people's suffering, seek help, but also hit that subscribe button. Go check out these videos. I'll see you over there.